This is the Louie Tee Network.
In the lab room.
10 minutes or less. San Diego Chargers.
Welcome, you are in the lab room. I'm your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me here on this program, 10 minutes or less. San Diego Superchargers. Clock! Let's go! So, rewind for the San Diego Chargers, and wow, new head coach Mike McCoy on the scene, new GM Tom Telesco. The first season isn't supposed to be a very successful one. And when you get a new head coach and you're turning over the roster and you got a new GM, everything is young, fresh, and new. And when it's young, fresh, and new, it's vibrant, but it's also mistake prone. And you kind of need to tailor your expectations to know that you're probably not going to be one of the upper echelon teams, one of the postseason participants. Just look to have a solid season, something to build on for the next year. But somebody forgot to give Mike McCoy that memo. They come out the gate and they have the Houston Texans on Monday Night Football, last game of week 1, on the ropes, 28-7 in the fourth quarter, and they let them off the hook. Now, was that game more indicative of the Texans not being that good or the Chargers being a lot better than what we thought? Who knew at the time? But the next week, I think they kind of solidified it for me when they went on the road and scored 33 points and beat the Philadelphia Eagles in Philadelphia. Didn't see that one coming. And so they're 1-1. Now they go on the road the next week, lose to Tennessee, come back home, win against the Cowboys. Didn't see that one coming either. And so now I'm like, hey, this team's a little bit better than what I thought. They get to the bye week and they're 4-3, and I'm like, hey, look out for the San Diego Superchargers. Then they come off the bye, and I'm saying to myself, okay, now Mike McCoy has hit that proverbial rookie head coach wall. They lose 3 straight. They're at 4-6, and I'm thinking, I think they're about done. Not ready to stick a fork in them quite yet, but I think they're done. But then just when I thought, I don't know about this Chargers team, they go on the road and handle a little bit of family business against the Kansas City Chiefs in Arrowhead, a game that I thought they had no chance of winning. But Tamba Ali gets hurt, so does Justin Houston. All of a sudden, they can't get any pressure, and Phillip Rivers carves them up. Late game heroics, they win that football game. Now they're 5-6. So after all of that, they go home and they lose a close one to Cincinnati. But at 5-7 with 4 left, and the Ravens and Dolphins ahead of you in the playoff race, pretty safe to say now, give me the fork, hand it over, and you got a game in 2 weeks on the road, Thursday Night Football against the Denver Broncos. Give me the fork. Time to stick a fork in these San Diego Chargers. Or is it? They need to win 4 in a row, and then they need some help. They need the Dolphins to drop 2 out of their final 4, as well as the Ravens to drop 2 out of their final 4, and get to 9-7, and they're in. Much easier said than done when one of those games is Denver on the road, Thursday Night Football. But they get the first one. They go to Denver, Thursday Night Football, shock the world, and the Denver Broncos, win that football game, beat the Raiders, and then set up a Week 17 matchup against the Chiefs, who have nothing to play for, at home, in a situation when you win, you're in. And it was a controversial finish, but nonetheless, they got the job done, get the win. They're in the postseason with a 9-7 mark. And so, wow, what a first season for head coach Mike McCoy. He gets it done, finds a way, whether it's in the back door, through the front door, who cares? They get in the postseason, and we know how this goes. Just let me get a ticket to the dance, and I'll do some damage once I get inside. Well, that's exactly what the Chargers did. They got their ticket to the dance, got a seat at the table, and once they got in, they started cutting up a rug. They started dancing, and they got in front of the Cincinnati Bengals, and they didn't know what to do. They were like deer in the headlights, and the Chargers took it to them on the road. The Chargers went into Cincinnati, steamrolled the Cincinnati Bengals, moved on to Denver. 3-time, not so much a charm. They lose in Denver, and that's where their season ends. But what a first season it was for Mike McCoy and these San Diego Chargers. So you fast forward now to the offseason, and I talked about this with the Raiders. When you're looking to build your franchise and get it to where you want it to be, and you're building it from the ground up, first things first, you got to find the right man or men, in this case men, and GM Tom Telesco and head coach Mike McCoy. Check. Normally there's a little period of struggle where you're turning over the roster, getting the books correct, and you're purging the roster and getting your draft in order. They didn't do that. They skipped that part and went straight to winning. So now you're in a situation where your money, you skipped over that part, but you still got to get the books right. The Chargers situation with the cap isn't as good as you would like it to be. So now let's look at this roster, look at who are free agents, look at what you want back, and move forward to team needs. So you look at this roster, and you look at guys coming back, and you look at guys in free agency. Charlie Whitehurst, Ronnie Brown, Donald Butler, Cam Thomas, Denario Alexander, Chad Reinhardt, Daryl Stuckey, Richard Marshall, Reggie Walker, and Lavelle Hawkins. So you look at that list, and inside linebacker Donald Butler has signed back with the team, so you can go ahead and take him off of this list. That was a great move by the San Diego Chargers. The first name that jumps off that list to me is Charlie Whitehurst. Here's a guy that's a backup. He left, he came back. You need to have a guy you can trust behind Phillip Rivers. And I think Charlie Whitehurst is a guy that you're probably comfortable with. Do you need to draft a quarterback? Maybe. Maybe you do. Maybe you don't. But you need a veteran backup nonetheless. Whether you draft a quarterback or not, you need a veteran backup anyway. Bring Charlie Whitehurst back. Shouldn't cost you a lot. He's made more than his fair share of money for doing much of nothing in the league. I think it's time for you to bring him back at a very solid and low number as your backup quarterback. You look at another guy on this list, Ronnie Brown. Look, Ronnie's 32, probably going to be 33 before the season starts. Do you really need to bring him back? I know if it's not broken, you don't need to fix it, but I think you can go into the draft, find a young running back that is going to not only serve as a third back on your roster, but also serve as a guy that can play some special teams. At Ronnie's ripe old age, he's not playing any special teams. So why not get a guy that's going to serve multi-purposes for you and get rid of Ronnie Brown? I think it's time for him to bid a farewell to everyone and hang up the cleats and call it a day in the National Football League. Maybe you want him back. Maybe you don't. If you don't, I don't blame you. If you do, that's fine with me as well. You look at another player that you should bring back. I think you should bring back Cam Thomas. Now, he's not a guy that's going to get to the quarterback, but he's big. He's stout at the point of attack in the run game, and he's proven in the past that he can get to the quarterback. Now, last year, as a starter, he didn't get to the quarterback as much as you or myself would have liked him to, but I think it's there. We know he can get to the quarterback, but I think more importantly, he's a space eater. He's taking up blocks. He's allowing Reyes and Legit on the outsides, and if you blitz any backers like Ingram or Johnson off the edges, to be able to get to the quarterback. And so I like him. I think he's a young guy that you want to bring back. Cam Thomas is a guy I think you can bring back in San Diego. That's it. I don't think you want any of those other guys back, and your cap situation is a mess. But you did free up some space with the release of free agent bust from a year ago, Derek Cox, and you released LaRon McClain. So that freed up a little bit of cap space for you there. I think you look at team needs now. Let's go straight to team needs for the San Diego Chargers. I think the three needs that you target with the money that you saved from cutting bait with those players and restructuring a few deals along the way is receiver, number one. Denario Alexander is having another surgery on his knee, and you knew what you were getting into when you got into the Denario Alexander business, okay? That was a guy that had degenerative knee issues. It's not going to get any better. It's going to get much worse, and at some point you probably are going to have to say to yourself, man, this guy has all the talent in the world, but he's not going to be able to stay healthy. His body isn't going to cooperate. You're probably going to have to part ways with him at some point. But you went the Robert Meacham route. It didn't work. You cut bait with him. You got to go out and get yourself another playmaker across from Keenan Allen. And so whether it's James Jones or someone like that in free agency, you got to go out and get a complimentary receiver in free agency. I don't think you want to go in the draft again and do that and have a lot of young guys out there. Go get you a veteran that can come in and help you right now. This team isn't in win down the road mode. You're in win right now mode. So you need a veteran to come in and help you. And I just talked about you cutting Derek Cox. You need cornerback help. You need cornerback help. You need cornerback help. And you need it in the worst way. So that is definitely somewhere where you want to target. And this is a very deep, rich market at the cornerback position. Don't be afraid. Don't allow what happened to you last year to impact you this year. The corners are a lot better in free agency this year. Now, it's going to cost you, but you can get yourself some help if you have enough capital. If you have enough money under the cap, you can get a quality corner. And you know, I like my corners well seasoned. So go out and get you some help at the cornerback position. And I just talked about defensive tackle. If you don't bring back Cam Thomas, then you need help in the middle of your defense at the nose tackle position. And I think whether you bring him back or not, go ahead and take care of that need through the draft. That's going to do it for me here. 10 minutes or less with these San Diego Chargers. It's been the San Diego Chargers. San Diego Superchargers in 10 minutes or less.
10 minutes or less. Like the content? Want more? Sub up.
In the lab